We have a ton of news, everybody, about the fourth stimulus payment, Social Security benefits, and SSI. I have a lot to talk about in this update, so there's a lot of information that you have to know. $2,400 a fourth stimulus check, and so here's some big news. The several lawmakers have proposed huge revisions to the Social Security program. The stock market crash of 1929 and the Great Depression have left many people in poverty. Today, around 80% of Americans 65 and older receive Social Security benefits, and more than half of retirees say those benefits represent a major source of income. Unfortunately, while the program has undoubtedly kept seniors out of poverty, the Social Security program is in need of reform. According to economists, decreasing birth rates and longer life expectancy have created an issue for the Social Security program. So the worker to beneficiary ratio currently sits around 2.8. That's down from 5 in 1960. In other words, the number of workers who pay taxes into the Social Security program is shrinking a lot. With that in mind, the Social Security Board of Trustees estimates that the Old Age and Survivors Insurance Trust Fund, which the funds and retirement benefits are from, is going to run out by 2034. At that point, the program would rely entirely on tax income. The taxes would only cover around 70% of scheduled benefits, and Bernie Sanders and Peter DeFazio introduced a political solution, the Social Security Expansion Act, among other changes. The bill would apply to Social Security payroll tax to all income above $250,000, a dramatic deviation of the current system. The Social Security Expansion Act will also tax the investments and business income of millionaires and billionaires to further boost the funding. Since 1975, COLAs have also been used to keep Social Security benefits in line. So those COLAs are currently representing, and based on the CPI index, the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers. That's what it is. It's a metric based on purchases made by office workers and other wage earners. According to top economists, the CPIW is a bad approximation for the spending patterns of seniors. Seniors tend to spend more on medical care, prescriptions, and housing, while the working age individuals spend more on education, apparel, and transportation. It just means CPIW underemphasizes the spending categories that are most relevant to seniors. It has also caused some Social Security benefits to lose 40% of their buying power in the last 2 decades. The Social Security Expansion Act includes a provision to address that issue. The bill stipulates that inflation would be measured under the Consumer Price Index for the elderly and a metric based on purchases made by individuals 62 and older. If COLAs had been calculated using the CPI over the last 2 decades, the average retired worker would have received an extra $5,800 in retirement benefits. Seniors tend to incur greater expenses as they are, especially with medical and care and prescriptions. That's why President Biden has proposed increasing the Social Security income paid to long-term live beneficiaries. This plan will boost the benefits by 1% and help out so many people.
Mr. Speaker, I've heard the arguments against this big tech bill by my Republican colleagues. My Republican friends ask, why would we give President Biden a win within 41 days before an election? Let me be clear. This is not a Democrat bill, and this is not a Republican bill. Mr. Speaker, holding big tech accountable is an American bill. It's American legislation. We are United States congressmen. We are serving in the United States Congress, and we serve United States citizens. It is never the wrong time to do the right thing. My friends say this big tech bill doesn't prevent discrimination and censorship. Competition is the solution for viewpoint censorship. MSNBC may not support my views, but Newsmax and Fox will listen to me. The New York Times and the Washington Post may disagree with me, but the Wall Street Journal and the Washington Times will hear me out. Google controls 94% of online searches, and when it changes its algorithm to discriminate against one side, there is no alternative. The same goes for Facebook, Amazon, and Apple. The real threat is that when a monopoly controls information in a democracy, it controls the results of elections. That's the threat that big tech poses to America. And I'm afraid that America may not be able to withstand that threat. Finally, my friends ask, why give money to the Biden FTC and DOJ? America is about to give Republicans control of the oversight and appropriations process. And Americans expect us to use those levers of power responsibly and effectively. It's not too much to ask for Congress to walk and chew gum at the same time. We can create competition for big tech and level the playing field, and at the same time make sure our government treats everyone in this country fairly. With that, Mr. Chairman, I urge my colleagues to vote for this bill, and I yield back.
Because they didn't have enough lifeboats to put passengers on. This government is bankrupting America. And somebody said, you know what, I'm worried about my grandchildren. And in some cases, even my children. And my answer to that is start worrying about yourself. This is in imminent danger that lies right in front of us. Our inability to face it, our delusional belief that somehow everything is all right, and we're fuzzy, and we're warm, and we're comfortable, until the wolf comes to the door. What happened? What happened to the greatest nation the world's ever known, with the most potential the world's ever known? A government that decides that a lot of the assets we have, we're not going to use them. We're going to go to a foreign source for energy. Why would you use domestic energy? Why would you use something that's right beneath your feet? And I hear all the time, well, we're going to work on all the above. I said, that's fine, but let's not forget everything that's below. Let's understand what our assets are and understand that we are drowning ourselves in debt. I'm accused sometime of being too passionate, but I'll tell you what, I'll be damned if I'm going to sit at the Thanksgiving table this year and look at those 10 grandchildren and my 4 children and say, you know what, your mother and I really love you, but we just don't care about your future. We are co-signing your name to our debt. And hopefully we'll be gone before you face that. My friends, this is not a Republican issue. This is not a Democrat issue. This is not a red issue. This is not a blue issue. This is a red, white, and blue American issue. I would ask my colleagues on the other side, please don't accuse us of not wanting to work with you. For 2 years, we haven't been allowed to be at the table. We haven't been allowed to be in the room. We have not been allowed to be in the building. We have not even allowed to be in the town. This false narrative that we will not reach across the aisle to work together, the one thing we will never do is to continue to damn our children and grandchildren and the future of this country with a debt that is so large, so over-encompassing, that there will no longer be a United States of America. Anybody that tells me